Once upon a time, in a quiet village nestled at the foot of misty mountains, there lived an old grandfather named Hiroshi and his young grandson, Kenji. Hiroshi was a wise man in his 80s, with a face etched by years of laughter and contemplation. He had spent much of his life studying the teachings of the Buddha, finding solace in the Dharma during times of hardship. Kenji, a curious boy of 10, often felt overwhelmed by the world, school pressures, friendships that faltered, and dreams that seemed too distant to grasp. One serene autumn afternoon, as golden leaves drifted lazily from the ancient ginkgo tree in their garden, Kenji sat cross-legged on the wooden porch, his small shoulders slumped. "Grandpa," he sighed, "everything feels so hard. I try to do well in school, but I keep failing my tests. And my friends don't want to play with me anymore. What if I'm just not good enough?" Hiroshi smiled gently, his eyes twinkling with the light of inner peace. He placed a weathered hand on Kenji's shoulder and said, "Come, sit closer, my boy. Let me tell you a story from my youth, one that taught me the true path to strength and joy. It's a tale rooted in the Buddha's wisdom, about perseverance, compassion, and the light within us all. Long ago, in a distant land much like our own, there was a young monk named Siddha. Siddha lived in a humble monastery surrounded by towering bamboo forests, where the wind whispered secrets through the leaves. He had joined the Sangha, the community of monks, eager to learn the Buddha's teachings, but he soon found the path fraught with challenges. The meditations were grueling. His mind wandered like a restless monkey, jumping from thought to thought. The sutras, ancient texts filled with profound truths, seemed like riddles he could never unravel, and the daily chores, sweeping the temple grounds, tending the gardens, left him exhausted and doubting his worth. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Siddha confided in his master, an elderly abbot named Rinchen. "Master," he said, his voice trembling, "I fear I am not cut out for this life. My mind is clouded, my body weak. How can I ever attain enlightenment when I stumble at every step?" Rinchen, with his calm gaze and serene smile, led Siddha to a lotus pond at the edge of the monastery. The water was still, reflecting the fading light, and lotus flowers bloomed proudly from the murky depths below. "Look at the lotus, Siddha," the abbot said softly. "It grows in mud, surrounded by darkness and impurity, yet it rises above the water, pure and beautiful, untouched by the filth. This is the essence of the Buddha's teaching on impermanence and transformation. Life is full of suffering, dukkha, but through right effort and mindfulness, we can bloom despite it." Inspired, but still uncertain, Siddha asked, "But how, Master? The mud feels too thick?" Rinchen nodded. "Let me share a parable the Buddha himself once told. There was a traveler crossing a vast desert, parched and weary, his water skin empty. He saw a mirage, a shimmering oasis, and chased it desperately, only to find sand. Exhausted, he collapsed, but in his despair, he remembered the noble eightfold path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Instead of chasing illusions, he sat in meditation, calming his mind. With clarity, he noticed a faint path leading to a real spring hidden nearby. By cultivating inner wisdom, he quenched his thirst. Siddha pondered this. "So, encouragement comes from within?" "Yes," Rinchen replied. "The Buddha taught that all beings have Buddha nature, the potential for awakening, but it requires metta, loving kindness toward yourself and others. When you fail, do not berate yourself. Offer compassion as you would to a friend. Practice dana, generosity, by helping your fellow monks, and sila, ethical conduct, by being honest in your struggles. Through samadhi, concentration in meditation, you train the mind like a muscle, and with panna, wisdom, you see that all things are anicca, impermanent. Failures pass like clouds in the sky." Emboldened, Siddha rededicated himself. Each dawn he rose to meditate, focusing on his breath. In, out, in, out. When his thoughts strayed, he gently brought them back without judgment. He studied the sutras not for perfection, but for understanding, one verse at a time. In the gardens, he worked mindfully, feeling the earth under his hands as a reminder of interconnectedness. When doubts arose, he chanted the Metta Sutta, "May all beings be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering." Months turned to years. Sita's mind grew steady, his heart open. One day, during a deep meditation under a Bodhi tree, much like the one where the Buddha attained enlightenment, Sita experienced a profound insight. He saw the chain of samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth, broken by his own efforts. He had transformed his suffering into wisdom. Sita became a great teacher, guiding others with the same encouragement he had received. He often said, "The path is not about avoiding the mud, but rising through it. Trust in your Buddha nature and encourage yourself with every step." Back on the porch, Hiroshi finished his tale, his voice soft like the rustling leaves. Kenji's eyes were wide, a spark of hope kindling within him. "Grandpa, do I have Buddha nature too?" Hiroshi chuckled warmly. "Of course, Kenji, we all do. When school feels hard, remember the lotus. Rise above the mud with patience and kindness to yourself. Study mindfully, help your friends with compassion, and know that every effort plants a seed for growth. The Buddha's teachings aren't just old words, they're tools for a joyful life. Now, shall we meditate together for a bit?" Kenji nodded eagerly, and as grandfather and grandson sat in quiet harmony, breathing in the crisp air, the boy felt a quiet strength bloom in his heart, a legacy of encouragement passed down through stories and timeless wisdom.